They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol, but that was a day of love.
Peacefully and patriotically, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
A day of love, a peaceful transfer of power. No, it wasn't. No matter how many times and no matter how long Donald Trump, the man who instigated a violent mob to storm our Capitol, tries to reframe what we saw with our own eyes on January 6, 2021. No matter how hard he and his sycophants work to rewrite the horror of that day, they cannot erase the physical and mental trauma suffered by those who put their lives on the line to defend the peaceful transfer of power, a sacred and enduring tradition that made our democracy a marvel and the envy of the world. In the days and weeks following the insurrection, 5 law enforcement officers died and more than 140 others were injured. Former Capitol Police Sergeant Aquilino Gonell was on duty that day. He helped defend the tunnel entrance of the Capitol against some of the most violent attacks, sustaining injuries all over his body that have required multiple surgeries and years of rehabilitation. One attacker smashed Gonell's hand with a stolen police baton. Others reached for his police shield and pulled on his upper body, causing him to tear his shoulder. Gonell writes in an op-ed published today in the New York Times that he feared he was going to die and never make it home to see his wife and son. He also pointedly describes how the trauma of that day still remains with him, writing, quote, "For those who didn't experience the violence January 6, 2021 might feel like it's in the past, but it's not for me. I keep reliving the 5 horrific hours of that cold Wednesday afternoon as I tried to protect elected officials, regardless of their political ideology, and their staffs inside the Capitol building, all without firing my gun." It's hard to believe that it all happened 4 years ago tomorrow. A violent assault on our democracy that our nation survived, thanks in part to the bravery of the man who joins me now. Sergeant Aquilino Gonell, member of the Courage for America Council, a former United States Capitol Police officer, and author of American Shield, the immigrant sergeant who defended democracy. Sergeant Gonell, it is an honor to have you here on the Sunday Show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
How are you feeling 4 years from that horrible day?
It's a mix of emotion. Just driving here to this place, I passed by the Capitol, and I see the fortification of the non-scalable barriers up, and that brings me straight back to the day after January 6th, when the whole Capitol was fortified. It's challenging to be here today.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've been talking about the fact that Donald Trump down there at Mar-a-Lago hosting election deniers, hosting people who made January 6th, 2021 possible. How do you feel about that?
It's a disgrace. I didn't think 4 years ago that I'll be here telling you that the majority of the American people would support what transpired on January 6th. It's very disappointing and it feels like a betrayal, not only politically, but also in the judicial system. A lot of things have been left undone in our effort to seek justice, and that's feel like a betrayal to me.
I'm going to read something that you wrote in your New York Times op-ed. You write, "I sometimes wonder why I risked my life to defend our elected officials from a mob inspired by Mr. Trump, only to see him return to power stronger than ever. It's hard to witness a rich white man get rewarded for treachery while I'm punished for fulfilling my duty. Maybe that's why so many people don't do the right thing, because it's hard and it hurts."
Yeah. Many of the same elected officials that you mentioned that are rushing to Mar-a-Lago, they are alive today because of what I did on January 6th. That's the only reason, not because of the lack of triumph by the mob. And whether Donald Trump pardoned those people who aggrieved us, those people who assaulted us, I want you to remember these 5 names. Brian Signey, Howard Littlegood, Gunther Hashida, Kyle DeFreytag, and Jeffrey Smith. These 5 officers died as a result of January 6th, and they died in the line of duty as a result of what Donald Trump and his allies, his supporters, did to us. So it doesn't matter how much or what way he pardons them. These people die in sacrifice and defending our democracy. And to have the president pardon them is an outrage and a desecration to their sacrifice.
And you say it's an outrage and a desecration, but you also write in the New York Times that you feel that if he were to do that, he would put your life in danger.
It could. I mean, I don't have any concern. I was simply doing my job on January 6th, and had that mob of supporters were from another group or political party, I would have done the same thing that I did on that day. I was simply doing my job, fulfilling my oath, protecting the Capitol, protecting democracy. And if Donald Trump and everybody else that support him have an issue with that, then they are not the party of law and order as they claim to be. How would they feel if this was done by the Democrat?
I think we know that. We know the
and
answer.
we know the answer,
we know the answer to that. So.
And they'll be praising me for doing what I did on January 6th, but unfortunately they have not. They have cited, instead of telling the officers how great we were protecting them and their colleagues on that day, they had invited some of the same rioters to be at Donald Trump's inauguration, to come back to the crime scene, the same place that they desecrated on that day.
There have been many consequences for you, for Harry Dunn, for Michael Fanone, consequences for speaking out and standing up and telling the truth. You note in the op-ed that Michael Fanone hasn't been able to, land a permanent job. You've left the force. Harry Dunn has left the force. Can you talk about what other consequences have you faced as a result of quite literally speaking truth to power?
Look, next week I'll be in court for one of the loving people, as he says. That loving day, that day full of love, that almost cost me my life, because that day, according to him, since it was full of love, they almost loved me to death. And part of the consequences, I lost my health, I lost my financial stability, to the point that I endure serious injury to my body and to my mental health. And I applied for some benefits. Those benefits through the Department of Justice, to this day, 4 years later, they had not been approved. And as a matter of fact, they were denied. And I appeal. I set up an appeal. In the meantime, a friend of mine set up a GoFundMe to help me continue my life and support myself and my family. But with this short amount of time, a window that we have before the Trump administration takes over, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that that will be resolved. And if it's not resolved before then, there's no guarantee that that appeal is going to be a positive outcome, given the fact that they don't believe that nothing wrong happened on January 6th. And reality is, more than 140 officers were injured on that day. Many of those officers also applied for that benefit that I'm speaking of. And it's an outrage, a letdown on multiple levels that 4 years later, we still had to deal with the ramification of that day. And those people, they attack us, the police officers. They're not warriors. They're not the victims. They chose to commit a crime because they were so gullible enough to believe the lies of Donald Trump without any evidence. We were doing our job. We were keeping our oath, not them.
I'm going to read the last line in your op-ed. You write, "At least I get to hear my son call me his hero as we remember the people who put everything on the line to protect our democracy and continue to tell the truth about January 6th. Sergeant Gonell, you are not just your son's hero. You're America's hero. Thank you so much for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to everyone.